Give Me the Remote. We're on episode 17 and it is the 7th of October 2018. I'm here with my co-host John.
Hello, John is here. And you are?
Sheridan.
Hooray! We got through an intro sort of.
Alright, so I think we're going to start off by reviewing Solo.
A Star Wars story.
It's a movie about Han Solo.
And
obviously.
This had so much bad press and it had a really troubled production. So, I got to say, I mean, we didn't go see it in the movies, which is unusual for us with a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
And we didn't watch it when it was immediately available to buy on iTunes. We waited for the rental option. So, we were buying into the negative hype pretty hard.
I don't think I was. Once I missed it at the cinema. I mean, I don't buy movies on streaming because I think, what's the point?
God, it always depends if you think you're going to watch it a few more times. But,
you have to watch it like
4 times to be worthwhile, yeah.
No, more than that.
It's $7 versus $25.
Alright, so maybe about that.
Yeah.
But they come down from $7. So you've got to be wanting to watch it
sometimes
4 times right in the beginning.
Sure, but
anyway.
moving on to talk about the movie, it had a lot of bad press, and
I hadn't read a lot of the press about it actually.
Production was definitely troubled, which is why Ron Howard ended up doing it. And I've got to say, once it had Ron Howard's name on it, that's a bit of a gold standard. I mean, he's not the most innovative filmmaker out there, and he doesn't do the most interesting stories, but Ron Howard has never made a bad movie.
No, he's pretty solid.
Yeah. And I got to say, there was a moment once it got to the big attempted heist scene where it was just 5 minutes of gripping action. I don't think I've seen Ron Howard do continuous action like that before.
I thought the opening too, so it opens with Han and his girlfriend Kia, who's played by Emilia Clarke.
And I think she's delightful in this as well, I have to say.
She is pretty good. As like these kind of juvenile delinquents stealing cars, and it's got a kind of like, and there's some racing kind of scenes, and
it's a bit Fast and the Furious meets Star Wars in patches there. And the scroller was bad, and it was talking about hyperfuel, and in the movie they never mentioned it as hyperfuel. They just called it something like Calaxia crystals or something, which worked in movie much better than hyperfuel. In fact, the scroller was just weirdly bad because it devoted itself to the foul lady, Lady Proxima, and she had like 5 minutes, not 5 minutes, a couple of seconds of screen time, and then we were on to other stuff. So the scroller was weird.
Sorry, what are you talking about?
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've completely forgot actually what was even written on there. So,
well, I think for the nerds, it might be that they got misdirected by the scroller and then just got angry. Because if you just cut that out of the movie, it would be greatly improved.
Yeah. I mean, they're just putting them there now because they have to, right?
Yeah, but they could literally just put a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away and then cut to a normal intro sequence from there. They don't have to try and preempt the plot badly.
Yeah.
And in ways that didn't actually reference the movie. That was a bit peculiar. I think that was a bit of the troubled history of the production coming out there. But so who played Han Solo?
Alan Ehrenreich?
Yeah. I thought he was very convincing.
Well, the thing is, right, he doesn't play Han Solo as the Han Solo that you know from A New Hope.
But he's playing a very young Han Solo.
Yeah, but even then, he's playing a fairly optimistic, wide-eyed.
I think that's the point of him being young, though.
But, you know, he could have played him a bit more schemy and...
He was pretty scheming, but he wasn't that cynical yet because he hadn't had it beaten out of him quite so much. But he was starting to get there as the movie progressed. He had growth.
It's a different Han.
I thought he did very well with a lot of the mannerisms, like the set of the shoulders and the face. A lot of the tics of Harrison Ford that a lot of directors really hated working with Harrison Ford because all they got was the same thing. He definitely invested in those, and I think he got them pretty well right in a lot of ways.
I felt sorry for him playing that character.
It's an opportunity and a risk to try and recreate a younger version of one of the most successful actors of the 20th century.
It's actually funny because Harrison Ford actually hates the acting he did in Star Wars, refuses to watch it and thinks it's horrible.
And he hates the fans.
And it's this most, you know...
On the other hand, he can be snobby about Star Wars all he likes, but all his later roles, and there were many of them and many of them were good, Star Wars wrote the checks for that.
Yeah.
Star Wars gave him those opportunities. He wouldn't have been in Indiana Jones if he hadn't been Harrison Ford, and all the later stuff that he did that was all mostly excellent. Mostly just being Harrison Ford, and he's a charming, charismatic dude.
Yeah. Alan Ehrenreich is not as charming and charismatic as Harrison Ford.
Again, I think Harrison Ford, when he was 18, would not have been as charming or charismatic as he was later.
We can pop A New Hope on later, but he's not there.
He was at least in his 30s by the time A New Hope was set, though.
Well, I mean, I don't know how old this Alan Ehrenreich is either, but I suspect he's in his late 20s.
True, but the Harrison Ford he's playing is really meant to be a late teenager.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you
not
kind of...
Harrison Ford, the solo that he's playing.
I think you have to get over that you can't replicate the charisma of Harrison Ford's Han Solo. And once you do get over that, it's quite a fun, enjoyable movie.
And I think they do very well in getting Woody Harrelson to basically play the older mentor who's sort of the development Harrison Ford in a way.
The supporting cast of the movie is amazing. It actually would have been a pretty crap movie if it hadn't been for the supporting cast.
So apart from Harrelson, who are you thinking of?
Well, so Han meets... Basically, so the plot line is that him and his girlfriend are stealing cars and being naughty, and they both get captured. But Han escapes, and then he basically goes on a mission to try and get back to her. And in doing that, he joins up with a group of freelance thieves, two of which are Woody Harrelson and Thandie Newton, and I think they are standouts.
Yep. I don't think she was a little underused, but, yes, she was excellent in what she was in.
Yeah. Donald Glover as Lando
Calrissian, good casting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Really, Donald Glover is obviously having a moment.
Yeah.
And that was well timed. Whoever had the foresight, because he wouldn't have been had that song. What is it?
This is America.
This is America. I always get confused between This is America, that song, and then the Sacha Baron Cohen. Who is America?
Okay, let's keep moving.
Anyway, that wouldn't have been out when they cast him.
No.
And he wouldn't have had such fame as a singer, so...
No. But yeah, I thought as a young Lando Calrissian, and also telling that little bit of backstory, which had always been an intriguing hint dropped in Empire Strikes Back, that the Millennium Falcon had once belonged to Lando and he'd lost it in a card game to Han Solo.
The whole movie's basically they're answering all these unanswered questions about
backstory. Yeah,
like how does Han Solo get his name? Where does Han Solo come from? How did Han Solo meet Chewie?
Yeah,
and they're all answered.
And
that's nice.
Oddly enough, the fans had always known that the Falcon was from Corellia, but it had not been clear that Han was also from Corellia. So there you go. But look, I think in general, it's a good piece filler, and people are having a lot of trouble with these mid-story Star Wars movies. Like, Rogue One didn't do as well as it deserved to, because I actually think Rogue One is probably the best Star Wars movie ever made. I think in many ways it's actually superior to Empire Strikes Back.
Interesting.
Controversial, I know, but I would go that far. And I actually think it's a better story because it's about heroes who are ordinary people and they don't have plot armor and they actually die, but that doesn't stop them being heroes. And what Rogue One is, as all good stories should be, offering a moral map to their audience, and Rogue One is a story for heroism for ordinary people. And I actually think that's way more important than, here's the golden child who's descended from the right people and he's going to set everything right, because we're going to be a long time waiting for those people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big Rogue One fan, and similarly, I think this movie also suffers in that the fans kind of don't care that much about anything that's not moving the plot forward. Yeah,
well, this doesn't move the plot forward at all.
No. So I think that's why these movies kind of fall into a bit of a grey area, because then they're incapable of moving the plot forward. The plot has already moved on. The grand Star Wars story has gone on, and they're just filling in detail that no one even knew they cared about. But I think as a as a Star Wars movie, with all the things we love about Star Wars, that is things flying around going whiz and things going kaboom and beautiful scenes, and the sets are really nice. I think,
really good.
I think there was a few nods owed to some Dune stuff going on, which I'm all for. I can do with some more of that.
Oh, and you know what else is great is that robot L3.
Oh, the feminist robot.
Yeah, yes. So it's this robot who's self-aware, I guess.
Droid, we should say, but yes.
A droid, yeah. And tries to sort of start a revolution with all the other robots.
But also has sexual tension with Lando. There's a lot of cute stuff going on. Yeah, it's really good.
And voiced by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who starred in Fleabag, which we reviewed.
Really?
A few weeks ago.
And they've just greenlit season 2 of Fleabag as well. So there's some good news there, because we love Fleabag. That was an amazing piece of casting to get her in there. They did so many things right. It really deserved to do better. I would hardly recommend it, and say if you've got any interest in Star Wars, or just even don't like Star Wars but just want to watch a fun action film.
I think it's a fun action movie. The pacing's really good. There's not really any of that. I mean, because it's like all these movies now that, they're 2.5 hours long, which, I mean, I'm a bit old school. I sort of like something that's 90 minutes. I don't want
after dinner and get to bed at a decent time.
Yeah, because I mean, we did that. It was like 9 o'clock, and I'm like, oh god, I gotta go to work. I don't want to put it on, and we put it on. But I didn't find myself sitting there going, oh god, when's it gonna end? Yeah. So it is fun. What are you gonna give it?
4.5.
I'm gonna give it 4.
Yeah, it's not a perfect movie. It's a pretty good movie though.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, and I would say again, a bit like Rogue One, the heroes can die, and I guess there's no great bravery in this though. This is people just trying to survive and get on in a hostile universe.
I mean, there's actually a lot of, and I mean, this is what Star Wars was always about. Is there's a lot of teamwork. Yeah, everyone, that's how people win is through working together.
One thing I would say, and it's probably where I'll drop the half star for, is when Thandie Newton, her character dies, when the heist goes wrong and they end up getting nothing for the heist. Everyone moves on from that a little
very
too
quickly, yeah.
Particularly Woody Harrelson, who's lost the love of his life. He seems to be totally over that. Whereas I think if my partner had died, even if we got the loot, but my partner had died and we hadn't even, it had been for nothing at all. I think I might have been a bigger mess for a bit longer.
Yeah.
Cool.
And there's some predictable kind of plot turns. I mean, that was a bit predictable.
The Emilia Clarke was a nice twist.
Yeah, well, don't spoil it.
No, I'm not the spoiler, but even the mid story stuff where she comes back into it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into the detail, but
you knew she had to come back in, though.
You do, but the nice thing is, Han thinks he's on a mission to save her, and it turns out she doesn't need saving at all.
Well, the writers have, read the room now on how we write for women, and
yeah, but it's a big step forward. That and the droid are huge step forwards on that front.
I mean, you are in these new Star Wars films. Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously in the Rogue One and everything, they're female leads, but I mean, in Han, you couldn't really have any female leads because of.
No, but there are strong female characters who are getting on with their life.
It's a 50-50 split with supporting cast.
Han is not the hero of these other characters' stories.
Yes, that's true.
He's the hero of his own story. It's named after him. You've got to give him that. He's not the hero of their stories, and I like that kind of depth in storytelling. Yeah. Cool. So what's next?
Thor Ragnarok?
Is
that how you say it?
Yeah, this is how you say it. So, for anyone who knows Norse mythology at all, Ragnarok is the end of the world, and then hopefully, if everyone's done enough, the rebirth of a new world. So the idea is that the more you've built in this world, the more there'll be left over once everything's destroyed. Norse mythology's got some cool stuff. Not mostly, but partly it actually stole a lot of Christian ideas in the 3rd century or so, and then the Christians stole a lot of Norse ideas. There's actually a lot of intermeshing of those things. But moving on from that,
yeah, we don't want to go too deep.
One thing I love, I watched this movie quite a few months ago, and I said to you, "You've got to watch this. You're going to love it." And I also said, it's directed by Taika Waititi, and you're like, what? I don't care. I don't want to watch a bloody Thor movie. And
I have to say, I was proven quite wrong because, to be honest, I find these Marvel Universe movies a bit samey.
Yep. Now, I will say, the first Thor movie, ordinary but okay, not great.
This is totally different from that.
Second Thor movie, bad. Just a bad movie. Thor the Dark World, terrible.
I don't think I've seen it.
You don't need to watch it. I fell asleep 3 times watching it. And, you know, if I'm falling asleep in a Marvel movie, it's a stinker. So, bad movie. This one, Taika Waititi, who, if you haven't seen any of his work, What We Do in the Shadows, is one of his. He's done a lot of short stuff. I think Hunt for the Wilder People was one of his.
I think so. Most probably well known for that recent advertisement that he did about
drink driving.
Was it drink driving or domestic violence?
Anyway,
you've probably seen it on TV.
Very clever New Zealand director. Very clever, and he brings a lot of Australian and Maori actors to a Marvel screen in this.
Well, he voices one of the characters
as well.
Probably the best character in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Which is basically a guy made of rocks.
Yeah.
And he's just
a revolutionary.
Funny.
Yeah.
Actually, this whole movie is funny.
Yeah. It's immensely good humoured. Throughout, well paced. Its use of music is just brilliant. I think really touching is they use the killer riffs of Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song, which is actually foreshadowing to the Asgardians all being turned into refugees.
So basic plot of the movie is
Ragnarok, the end of all things, as far as Asgardians are concerned. Okay, so Thor is the son of Odin, as most of you probably know. Odin, the Norse, sort of the Norse Zeus, is a terrible way to describe him, but the way most people think of him. Odin's a really interesting character.
Played by Anthony Hopkins.
In this, played by Anthony Hopkins. In Norse mythology, Odin does crazy things like hangs himself as a sacrifice to himself and is reborn stronger with more knowledge.
Well, there's none of that going on here.
Well, he's only got one eye because he lost it along the way, and then there's the moment in this where Thor loses his eye because he's becoming his dad.
So Thor and his brother Loki meet up with their father Odin, and discover that they've got a long lost sister, Hela, who's this goddess of death.
Yeah.
And she wants to basically destroy the entire world.
And she wants to rule the whole world as the goddess of death.
True.
She doesn't want to bring about Ragnarok.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Who wants to bring about Ragnarok again? Who's that?
Well, Surtur is the fire giant who starts the movie saying, "Ragnarok's beginning, I'm going to get my moment." And there's a very cute scene that they open it with Thor being held captive by Surtur and then fighting his way out.
So, as you can probably tell by the way I'm describing the plot, the plot's not exactly the most important thing in this movie.
It has a really, really cool thing, but it's so crucial to the ending, I don't want to spoil it for people.
Yeah. But anyway, so Thor has to try and stop his sister. There's quite a big diversion that occurs halfway through where he
ends up on a futuristic world at the edge of the galaxy where all the wormholes empty their garbage, everyone rummages through it. Jeff Goldblum is beautiful playing the Grand Master.
Totally. He's really good.
Tearing up the scenery. He's great.
And he organises these crazy gladiator fights, including one with the Hulk.
Yes, and the Hulk, when the Hulk comes out in his that's kind of a big spoiler, but anyway, it's mid-movie, so we're gonna
But everyone knows the Hulk's in this movie.
Okay, sure. Anyway, the point is when Hulk comes out in his gladiator gear, it's just such a marvelous scene, it's there's a lot of capers and fun. It probably drags a little bit when Thor and the Hulk are locked up together in a prison cell, and
I felt as though because they sort of become so. The Hulk stays as the Hulk for a long time in the film, which is unusual.
The Hulk is in control. Bruce Banner is banished, and Bruce is very worried that he's never going to get back if he ever lets the Hulk out again.
So, Thor becomes friends with the Hulk. I think there was an attempt there to humanise the Hulk as opposed to
Bruce Banner.
Yeah. And
he's a pretty unsympathetic character. He's unpleasant.
He's a douchebag when he's the Hulk.
But that's kind of what he is.
Exactly. Though. So I just that kind of did grate on me a bit. I'm like, I don't need to have the Hulk humanised.
I think there is a point that even though the Hulk is a very unpleasant character when he's the Hulk, he is still capable of heroism involving self-sacrifice and accepting pain to help others, which does come out in the final scene where if the Hulk was just looking after himself and being a douchebag, then he wouldn't have engaged in a fight with huge godlike beings to try and rescue refugees.
Well, maybe I was a bit harsh. He's not really a douchebag, but you don't really want to have a conversation with him, and I certainly don't really want to see a conversation with him on screen.
You definitely would not want him at a party.
I just want him
He's
to
not
fight.
the dude you want at any party you ever go to.
I actually read that Taika Waititi did not read any of the Thor comics in making this movie.
Okay.
And apparently did not want to have really anything to do with the Marvel Universe and just wanted to create his own thing. And I actually think that's why I like this movie, because it's totally different to a lot of the others.
I think that is a goddamn lie, and the reason why is that so much of this movie emulates the Thor comics of the 1980s. Picture perfect to a note. All the campiness and the colourfulness... and the energy,
It's a big movie. He had script writers and production designers and set designers on there.
Yeah.
But apparently he said he read one really, really thin Thor comic and then nothing.
Okay. I would also say Norse mythology is a well-known body of work that he might well have known without having to read a Thor comic.
It's not like the other Marvel films, though. It's
not.
funnier.
It's very much a Taika Waititi film.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty good, though.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. You know who I really do not like Doctor Strange as a character. He's in there as well. He's just
for a bit at the start.
It's that annoying goatee.
Okay. I mean, we should maybe review Doctor Strange one day, but...
I actually like Doctor Strange the movie, but he just grates on me as a bit of a...
Well, he's a bit of a know-it-all.
Yeah, you wouldn't want him at
he doesn't
a
actually
party
know that much either. I think it'd be hilarious at a party. I reckon he'd have some good acid. Well, it certainly looks that way.
You'd be able to do some magic tricks.
Take your mind.
I don't really like what's his name, though. I'm out on a ledge there without liking...
Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch. I actually think that his Doctor Strange is one of his more likeable characters. But
well, that's probably true, but I don't watch a lot of his characters because he kind of bugs me.
Yeah. All right, how many stars?
I'm going to go 4 stars.
4 stars for a movie you did not want to see.
Yeah.
Wow, cool. I'm going to stick with my 4.5 stars. I just think it's just a fun romp from start to finish. And when I watched it, I didn't realise how much setting up they were doing for Avengers Infinity War as well. Basically, half this movie is just stuff that they couldn't get into Infinity War without making it a 4-hour movie.
Infinity War was already quite a long movie.
Yeah, and I like Idris Elba being a Norse.
That was
dark-skinned guy. I think that was actually really well done. He was
actually even seem like it. I didn't even know it was Idris Elba, and Idris Elba is such a recognisable person.
Yeah,
that's some great acting.
But he also was very convincingly a Norse character whose skin happened to be dark, which I thought was really well done. And making white, blonde Norse characters into refugees was something I think this world needs more of.
Oh, and sorry, we do have to mention Cate Blanchett as Hela.
Yes.
Because she's amazing. I thought she played that character really well. Quite fun. She's scary. Looks amazing in a bodysuit.
Yeah, I thought she fell a little bit into Marvel villain syndrome, which is that Marvel has not had a lot of great villains. I don't think that's any fault of hers, though.
I thought it was
really
fun,
good.
though.
And it was nice to see 2 Australians playing against each other in a big budget film.
Yeah, her and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, and also Carl Urban as Scourge, who I didn't even...
There was actually a lot of people from this hemisphere in that. Yeah. Although he's English, isn't he?
No, he's New Zealander.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I've got a lot of time for Carl Urban. I did not recognise him. He's so convincing in his role, even though I've known him in a lot of other movies and loved him in Dread and, of course, in Lord of the Rings. He's very convincing playing a totally different sort of character in this. So I think, a lot of hats off to a lot of people. There's a lot of really, really good stuff in it. The Valkyrie storyline is really good too. So 4.5 stars from me. Sorry, we've banged on a little bit in the end bit here.
All right, what's next?
The Life of the Party, starring Melissa McCarthy.
Yep, we're switching it up.
We're away from the big budget hero
yeah.
films. I love this movie so much. I'm just going to get that. Boom.
You
I was like, that looks interesting. Let's watch it. That was my call.
So maybe we did go in with a bit of low expectations.
There were low expectations. They were like, this could be bad.
So the film is basically Melissa McCarthy's character Deanne gets dumped by they're sending their daughter off to college. Well, she's in third year college.
Yeah.
And she gets dumped by her husband, who leaves her for a not younger but more attractive, richer, more exciting real estate agent who's played by the woman from Modern Family, Julie Bowen.
Yep.
And Melissa McCarthy, instead of crumpling into a heap, decides that she's going to go back to college and get her college degree.
I think going back to college is crumpling into a heap in its way. But anyway, go
on. So she returns to college and lives a college life. And it's been pointed out that this actually is probably a complete rip-off of a 1986 Rodney Dangerfield movie called Back to School.
Yeah. It's not just that.
But that's fine.
I would say it's more of a riff on about 10 years ago, the Old School movie with Will Ferrell.
One, yeah.
But it's also of a genre with the Revenge of the Nerds movies. And Revenge of the Nerds is something that a lot of people are starting to go back and say, oh God, what were we doing there? Because it was from a time when nerds were derided and beaten up and everyone hated them, and now nerds rule the world and everyone's starting to hate them again for different reasons. But the sexual politics of Revenge of the Nerds is extremely problematic. It's like, oh, we all laughed at that, but we shouldn't have. And this one, it's totally from a female perspective. Guys are very incidental characters in this.
Yeah.
And it goes right to the heart of, can women be funny? Well, oddly enough, yes, they can. Can they carry a movie like this, which is all about college humour? Yeah, turns out they can. It's pretty good.
So it was written with her husband, Ben Falcone, who played the Uber driver.
Oh, nice.
So there's a funny...
Wow, she's punched above weight there.
So they have actually written and directed a couple of movies together that didn't go so well, including The Boss, which I don't think you've seen it, but I've seen it, and it's not amazing. So,
yes.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that thought, but I think there are some really, really funny bits in this movie that, for example, she has a fling thing with a college guy, and the way that it's written is that it's not... I didn't find it all that gross and just found it to be about a middle-aged woman that was sort of embracing her sexuality and not taking this fling too seriously, and it creates some really quite funny moments in the film. There
are some big payoffs, yeah. Huge payoffs. I mean, I remember we had to stop the movie. Literally, oh my God, that was amazing! And I don't want to spoil it for the listeners because it's amazing. But fundamentally, it happens quite a lot in life that there are young guys and mature women, and they both want the same thing, and that's no more wrong than a young woman and a mature guy, wanting a thing. And I think it's great to show that.
I thought that there were some scenes that were perhaps... because, they're obviously going for that 80s...
college movie vibe.
Yeah, so, there's some things in there that you kind of have to do. But, there's a celebrity cameo. I just felt that maybe they weren't done as funnily as they could have been. They're not offensive. They're not boring or dull.
I think they were done in style, though. Those things were always clunky.
Yeah, well, they're clunky in this film.
Yeah, but I felt that the clunkiness was in style as a stylistic homage to the sort of movie they were making. And what I really like about this is there's a lot of people, most of them complete assholes, who keep banging on about how women can't be funny, and also how that what was good about, say, the Revenge of the Nerds movies was the terrible sexual politics, when in fact, yes, it did have terrible sexual politics in it, but there was other things in them that were funny and weren't bad, and this has kept the funny bad things and removed the other bits that were problematic and said you don't actually need those problematic bits to make something good.
It's actually quite it's not G-rated, but it's a lot of the humour in this movie is actually pretty clean, given the scenarios they're in. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing. In fact, I actually think doing clean humour is much harder than...
there's some very suggestive stuff, and I don't think anyone would...
You would be able to watch this, though, with a 13-year-old kid.
When she has sex in the stacks?
But they don't really show anything.
They don't show anything, but it's still very much suggested.
Well, I mean, what was it rated? I reckon it'd be rated PG.
I thought it'd have to be an M.
Yeah, okay. Maybe my parenting skills probably are non-existent.
Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable watching this with anyone much under 16 because it does talk about sex.
And I guess there's drugs and...
Yeah.
I mean, just marijuana, but, you know...
Yeah,
alright, sorry.
Yeah.
Don't leave me with your kids, people. There's some really good supporting cast again. Maya Rudolph, who was in Bridesmaids, plays the friend. Yeah, she's been in a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just great. Well, they make this cool... So, all his friend wants to hear about is Deanne's experience going back to college. There's no jealousy, animosity, and they're just it's a really nice friendship that they portray.
Possibly even overplayed in that Maya Rudolph's character is constantly boning her husband.
That's true.
Which, you know, it's nice that there's a mature relationship that's still bubbling along on that level. I'm certainly not going to say that's impossible or incredible either. There's also some nice interplay with. There's a group of younger women and one who's a few years older, and
so that's Gillian Jacobs from Love and Community.
Yeah.
But I like that they actually
accepted she was older and wrote that in.
Exactly. Like, you don't have to play a 20-year-old.
Because we literally, when she first appeared on screen, we're like, ooh, she's a bit older than all these others. And they actually said, oh yeah, she's 8 years older than everyone else. It's like, there you go. But it was the interplay of the group of friends and the way they were accepting of their friend's mother in their peer group on campus. Not everyone, there were the mean girls. There's some hilarity with revenge being taken on the mean girls. But, you know, in terms of even when the daughter was like, I don't want to go hang out with mum, the other characters were like, well, she's nice. And
I thought that the daughter probably accepted the mum into the group a little bit too easily. I'm not sure in real life that would have happened.
No, but I think it was reasonably realistic the way the rest of the group were treating her as a peer on campus.
Yeah. And God, she can wear a bedazzled mum sweater like no one else knows McCarthy. She's just she just does it so well. She's got a physicality that makes you believe she's this.
She's also a very good actor, so she can.
That's what I mean. 1 minute she can switch between being the dumpy mum and then presto makeover, and she's like kind of sexy college mature age student.
Yeah. So I think it's a movie that we actually needed at a time like this. And
I like that there's actually no apologising for her being a dumpy mum in this movie. She doesn't apologise for that. She plays the character as though, no, that's what I did because I was raising a child and there's nothing wrong with that.
And they don't make her go through an insane workout routine and lose the weight. She is who she is.
She just makes some changes because she's hanging out with
younger people. Changes her makeup and straightens her hair. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it 3 stars.
3 stars. Okay, why are you docking it 2? Why are you giving it a star less than Thor Ragnarok?
Look, if I was doing halves, I would have gone in the half. And I did tear a bit between 3 and 4. But I did feel as though there were just some kind of awkward scenes that weren't as fully thought through.
See, as an aficionado of the American college movie genre, I just felt those scenes were done in style.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I'm giving it 4 stars.
But I would highly recommend watching it. It's very enjoyable. Definitely multiple actual laugh out loud moments.
Yep.
And also, with these awkward scenes, I mean, it's a 90-minute movie. You don't have to sit through them very long.
I mean, we watched the trailer to see if we wanted to watch it. And we laughed continuously through the trailer. And we were like, well, be okay just to see those scenes again. And even when we saw the scenes again, they were still funny.
And actually, well, if you are tossing up whether to watch it, watch the trailer. Because the trailer is actually exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah, but...
It's the trailer's not just the funny bits from the movie and then nothing else.
Yeah.
The movie's like that the whole way through.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, very likeable, good little find.
What are you giving it?
I said 4 stars.
Oh, you did, sorry.
Yeah. So I've been rating very highly. I've had a good week for content.
You have.
And, yeah, I'm a happy camper. I think it's really good to see genres like this being reclaimed rather than be abandoned as well.
Yeah.
And to show that you can do good things without needing to belittle or impoverish other people. Yeah. Okay, so that's the end of tonight's podcast. We're glad you made it through all the way this far. If there's anything you'd like us to review, we're still waiting for your emails at gmtrpodcast@gmail.com. Also, you can comment and like on Facebook. Hello to Ronnie, who's finally realised we did the Vietnam War. And thankfully she agreed with our review on that one. So that was worth that 20-hour trudge through the dark. Okay, folks, we'll be back next week.
Thanks, folks.